Thank you, PJ. It is time for another edition of the Pair and a Spare podcast. We are presented, as always, by our great partners at Jack's Cafe. Make your reservations at jaxcafe.com. If you're watching on the YouTube channel, you can see the Pair and a Spare podcast is presented by Jack's Cafe. Make your reservations at jaxcafe.com. I'm Justin Gaard from The Fan, Ryan Burns from GopherIllustrated.com, Chip Scoggins from the Minnesota Star Tribune. And we're joined by very special guests this week on the podcast, Burnsy's Cats.
Golly.
Who just decided that they have a voice. They've heard their father podcasting and doing interviews for the last, 6 months, Burnsy, since you grabbed this batch. And now the cats are going to sporadically pop into the show, which is, I think, a nice addition. I think people are going to enjoy this.
Yeah, it's all those kittens I was talking about in the last episode have now figured out that they can meow. I have the door closed,
doesn't matter.
It truly doesn't matter because I was telling you guys in the pre-production meeting here, which is so official, like their room we have them in is directly above my bedroom, and it just sounds like four-year-olds just running around all night. So the good part is most of them have been adopted, of which by the time people listen to this, maybe they've all been adopted. So hopefully we can get them to their final stops on the destination. But if you hear meows in the background and you're thinking to yourself today, I don't even have a cat. What was that?
Right.
That's just the 400 animals I have in my upstairs right now.
So you still have the dog too?
I still got the Mastiff. Yeah, the Mastiff's the full timer. He's almost 10 now. My 10-year-old Mastiff.
Wow.
Is he just feeling tortured at this point? Like, how's that going?
He is very nonchalant with all them, which we're grateful for. But, I mean, he's
fed up.
I don't know if I've ever told you what a walk is like with a Mastiff. I go 1 block over, 1 block up, 1 block over, and I'm back at my house, and he's gassed.
Yeah.
Like, when we adopted him, that's
also my fitness routine, by the way.
Yeah.
Anybody's wondering.
Sounds familiar, doesn't it?
Yeah, what I've done this summer.
It's like a 1/4 mile to a 1/2 mile walk of where you don't go any faster than a slow stroll, I'll call it. But when we adopted him, he already had arthritis in all 4 legs. I mean, it's a whole thing over here right now. So I'm glad that football season's almost here, so I can get the upstairs cleared out. Now that we have, I think these will be, by the time they all get adopted, I think we'll have 9 cats that got adopted through us this summer. So that's
good
awesome
for you. Well, it's nice that you do that. In all seriousness, It's nice that you do that. Yeah, they're dogs at some point. They're opposite of human. You know, when humans get older, they get crankier and they get annoyed by things.
Yeah.
My experience is when dogs just stop giving a bleep about anything when they reach a certain age. They're like, this isn't going to bother me. You know, I'm fine. I'm getting fed. I'm getting my 4-block walk in. I'm fine. Yep. You know, it doesn't matter.
I can sleep through anything.
Yeah, exactly.
10 cats going crazy.
And your house, Chipper, is the exact opposite, right? I mean, being the empty nester, basically, it's just like there's no sounds coming from your house. You worry about every sound because they're so rare.
Yeah, we have a 4-year-old dog that still thinks it's 9 months old. So
that's great.
And we've had the youngest home for summer, so taking him back to school on Sunday, so it is going to be back to empty nesters.
So you'll have time. Yeah, you'll be available. All right. Well, how was it, Burnsy? Or how were they, I should say? Let's start the pod. How were they?
Who's they?
The 2 opportunities you've had to watch Gopher football practice.
The cats.
The 2 opportunities you've gotten to watch Gopher football practice. You've been waiting. We haven't talked since the Saturday night practice, since last Tuesday. Every week, the last 6 weeks in Vegas, you're wondering, when am I going to get to see practice? I got to go see practice. Dan Owen needs to take pictures of practice. I got to go see House and Greeter and Randy Johnson. And I know, Chip, you saw there too.
I was there one.
I'm going tomorrow. I have not yet been, but I know, Burnsy, you asked for it. You wanted it. How was it?
Well, I'll be the first to say I'm very grateful for our listeners, of which I've learned through these experiences that there's a lot of in the University of Minnesota apparel that walk the sidelines during these practices, of which they know my rhetoric with things around this. So I just want to say, so blessed and highly favored once again to be able to cover such an elite Gopher football program. But it's life-changing stuff being able to go out there and actually watch practice. As we see, Wisconsin just has everything open at Platteville, and then Iowa opens one a year. But
He's not bitter, Guards. He's not bitter at all about this.
I'm always bitter.
Yeah, I knew.
I'm more bitter than all your IPAs that you two drink, but
had some good ones this weekend. But go ahead.
Yeah, it's.
Well, here's what I'll say. Let me stop you. Let me stop you because we do need to we need to flesh this out a little bit. So yeah,
Sure.
College coaches, don't really want anybody to do anything, right? We get to go to like every Vikings practice, and great, terrific. I don't know if I know anything more about the team than I did, before August 11th, whatever it is. Chip, or this is what I always tell Burnsy. You don't need the access. You're Ryan Burns. You are the product. People are going to gopherillustrated.com for you. And Burnsy, by the way, Burnsy knows all these coaches better than their wives do. He knows everything that's going on with the program. You don't need practice, Burnsy. So stop complaining about practice. What do you think, Chip?
I think that was very well said, but I will say in Burnsy's defense, and I was talking to House about this, you like to have content. You like to talk to the athletes to get to know them.
Yeah,
a little bit better. Their personalities, and for someone like me who, follows the program but not as intensely, obviously, as Burnsy. There's so many new guys. I just want to see, what they look like. Now Burnsy, he knows it like the back of his hand, but
right.
He had to help me at practice the other day. Like, who are these guys? Yeah,
it's more content related or content related consternation. If we're gonna get all about 3 to 6:30 verbiage here. With
I just say you are the content, Burnsy. In my opinion, I said that at the house too. I go, you guys are the content. You don't need them. Okay, stop acting like you need them. You don't need them.
I like quotes. I don't know, journalist part of me. I like
get
quotes
those.
To be able to write about things like that.
They'll have availabilities and things like that. I know, but anyway, I just like busting you because it bothers you so much. And like you say, though, Iowa opens up one, right?
Look,
I know.
If I've learned anything from this program, it's comparison steal your joy. So, well, I know that Wisconsin gets to go to everything. Iowa gets to go to nothing. Very different media markets. That's a whole different debacle and discussion. But again, I just love talking about this program, and I like to have things to like write about outside. And again, talking about it on podcasts like these, it's helpful for me. But I think this is such an interesting 2025 team because they have talent, but it's inexperienced, and you don't know how it's going to translate to Thursdays, Fridays, or Saturdays at this point. But then you also look at the schedule and you think to yourself, there's avenues for a ceiling, but they're very thin at positions, which tells you that there's a lot, I think, missing a bowl game floor if they get injuries at certain positions. It's a fascinating kind of team to look at. And with all the wide range of outcomes, Chip, I don't know. I feel like I've seen a lot of it, and I'm excited to see one last one tomorrow to try and figure it out one last time before we got to put our pencils down and actually really give the fans what an accurate prediction to me would be. But what do you think?
Yeah, it's hard because, like, I get to watch one practice, and they're not going to show a ton in the one practice we get to see, obviously.
Correct.
So, but I did. Hey, Guardsy, I got my notebook. I made some notes from my one practice appearance.
I believe you. Yep.
I'll ramble. I'll wrote down some names of guys that jumped out at me. Obviously, what was that last week we went, Burnsy? Was that
August 5th?
Yeah. That's the day that Drake Lindsay really, I thought, showed off his arm with the deep balls to Jalen Smith at 2 deep passes, like 60 yards maybe. We didn't see a lot of team stuff, but Jalen Smith really jumps out at you. I mean, his speed, his athleticism, he's going to be hard to keep off the field, I think.
That's a Mankato kid, right?
Yeah, Mankato West. Mm-hmm. What, right? Mankato West, yeah.
Yep.
The defensive kid that really jumped out to me, Parrish. How do you pronounce his first name?
Naeem Parrish, the true freshman from
the corner
Catholic out there.
Somebody was telling me that he came from a blue blood premier high school football program and like set the record for interceptions, and he had I think the one that Coy Parrish slipped on, but he picked off an interception off the ground basically at his shoe tops and returned it for what would have been a pick six. He looks comfortable. He looks like a playmaker, right? I mean, he jumped out.
Well, it's like a constant rhetoric from defensive coaches over the years is you find guys that get around the ball. that are seemingly always around the ball. I remember Cody Lindenberg was somebody that the staff always talked about in that regard. And we've seen true freshmen play at corner before, guys like Justin Wally, among others. So
Terrell Smith.
Yeah. I asked Danny Collins, because obviously the kid's talented, but like being talented and being ready to contribute as a true freshman in the Big Ten is two totally different conversations. But he said it helped. He was a spring kid, so he's been here through spring ball. He's it's not like he just showed up to fall camp, so he's had a little more extra time, and that probably helped him. And I thought AJ Turner, you can tell he has some burst as a running back. He obviously Darius Taylor's the lead guy, but Turner, his speed jumped out. And then I think at least their starting defensive line with Eastern and Anthony Smith and Logan Redding, those guys are good. They really Devin Eastern just looks like how I feel about Anthony Smith. I think he's been a superstar in waiting, and I think he just has everything you want from that position. But Devin Eastern looks like he looks like he's going to have a big year, I think. But I think that first team defensive line has a chance to be really good.
Yeah, they were just very thin at defensive line to me.
Yeah.
Their top group is great. Like for Minnesota standards, it is great. I think it's a good to potentially very good starting defensive line. I just think it drops off a cliff.
They got to be healthy.
Yeah,
they got to be healthy there, or some of these other guys are going to have to step up and really show that they can be trusted.
Well, that's where you just have so much inexperience, and you don't know what to think about certain guys. Like we talk about even a guy like Jackson Howard, or hasn't played a lot of football. Carter Menz, the former #1 player in North Dakota, hasn't played a lot of football. Rushawn Lawrence hasn't played any Big Ten football. You even get to the offensive side of the ball where Drake Lindsey holds the keys to this whole thing. And I know that they think the world of him. I think he's going to be a good player. But we all recognize from game 1 to game 13, that thing ain't going to be linear. And what does it look like starting 17 days from now against Buffalo? Now it's interesting, Chip.
I did find it pretty interesting after that practice. The coordinator was talking. Greg Harbaugh said that how did he phrase it? It's
one of my favorite phrases that I get chastised for. It's
the plate, not the plate.
Yeah, it's the plate bit.
But he basically said has more installed, or he's given more.
Put more on the plate, Chipper.
Put more on the plate than he did Max Brosmer at this time last year, which I don't know if that's.
I don't believe
true.
That. I don't believe. I don't believe you, Greg. No,
it stopped me too. I was like, really? Because I felt like Max Brosmer knew the entire offense by, but like the back of his hand by this time last year. So, but I think it does. Eternally, they are doing nothing to lower expectations for this guy.
Right.
PJ, Harbaugh, there's no like easing into it. You're talking about they expect him to hit the ground running and not have to say we're going to kind of nurture this along. No, they're raising the expectations big time for him publicly.
Well, I think that's even a great topic to get your guys' opinions on itself is Drake Lindsey expectations, because national wise, everybody thinks Drake Lindsey stinks. Now, I understand there's, again, just a handful of people that cover this program. You look at any like Big Ten quarterback power rankings, Drake's usually 18th, and I get it. He hasn't done anything.
Those things are based on experience.
Yeah,
they're based on.
Not that they think he stinks. They just don't know what he is. Like you couldn't. How could you put him top 10?
Right.
When you think about who
he hasn't he hasn't played it down yet, or as a starter.
He's played a few.
But
But your point's well taken.
So that's where I actually went back and looked at first-year quarterback performances, and I picked Tanner Morgan, Ethan Kaliak-Manis, I think it was Mitch Leidner, and Adam Weber. Like again, you can pick and choose, I should say, your data sets here. But do you guys want to guess, of those 4 quarterbacks, what the highest completion percentage was of those 4? Again, Adam Weber's first year as the starter, Tanner Morgan, Ethan Kaliak-Manis, and the pride of Lakeville, Mitch Leidner.
I'd say 55%.
Yeah, I listened to Gopher Gridiron Radio when you unveiled this.
You're cheating. Okay, I'll do mine. 55%.
Well, I was going to say, but I was in and out of sleep and IPAs, and so I don't remember exactly. But it was in the 50s. It was in the high 50s, I want to say.
Yeah, the best was, I think it was 58%,
Yeah.
of which I think was Tanner.
Yes, that
so
sounds right.
That's where Max Brosmer last year, Chipper, completed 66% of his balls.
Mhm.
Now, I set the over-under for Drake Lindsey completion percentage at around 61, 62% maybe, which, again, that would be 3% higher than any other recent Gopher quarterback who is worth much, or at least started for multiple years in the Big Ten. Now, the other thing is, you look at Brosmer last year. Brosmer for Minnesota, 18 passing touchdowns, 6 interceptions. You want to guess kind of what it looked like for those other guys in their first years as a starter?
Was it 50-50 TDs, interceptions?
It was a little better than that, but you had everything from Adam Weber throwing 24 passing touchdowns that also came with 19 interceptions, which I think by the 11th interception, PJ Fleck would lose his mind and just run the ball 69 times a game here.
That is to me, the whole conversation about what Drake is going to do is, to me, can they run the ball better? Is that offensive line going to be better equipped to run the ball? I think they got really good running backs. I mean, obviously Darius Taylor, Turner, the other transfer, Burnsy,
Cam Davis.
Davis.
Also like Femi Edgeboy.
Femi, yeah. Mm-hmm. So it's not the question of running backs, and I don't think it's a question of whether PJ is going to be committed to it. It's just, it was hard for me to get a real true sense in that one practice of the offensive line, kind of where they're at and all those things. But they've got to run the ball. I mean, if you can't run the ball and you're putting more pressure on him to throw the ball, there's going to be interceptions. I mean, because I think they want to be able to go back to, maybe not all the way back to where they were, but I think they're going to have to lean on that running game a lot more than they did last year.
Which, all right, Max Brosmer threw the ball like 405 times last year. Okay. Want to guess what I would tell you? I think the over-under is for Drake Lindsey pass attempts here in 2025.
So I looked it up the other day. Max, or they averaged 31 pass attempts per game last year, which was like 50 at 50, actually 57 nationally, after being at the bottom nationally.
Yeah.
That was air raid. That was PJ going air raid. 31, I think it's 31.7 attempts. If you ask me how many attempts, 23 to 25.
I was going to say 25.
Yeah.
25 to 27.
I think Drake, I'd have to do my Tartan education math in my head. I'd set the over-under at like 345 pass attempts, which, again, I can do the math.
I can't do the math. I'm terrible.
But I think it's like 27-ish. So if you do 345 by 13, it's like 26, 27. Because I think they're still going to throw the ball. They would want to run the ball more. I think Harbaugh referred to it as a young quarterback's best friend. Again, I think there's going to be a lot of similarities with the way that Kevin O'Connell wants to do it with J.J. McCarthy, and Greg Harbaugh wants to do it with Drake Lindsey. Now, if Minnesota can't run the ball or is incredibly mind-numbingly inconsistent like they were last year from week to week, where they could pound it against USC and then couldn't do anything against UCLA, to pound it against Illinois, to can't run it against Rutgers, then you're going to see it a little bit more. But they're also, I mean, running the football is going to come down to, do they have enough tackles, to me? Because they're already without Nathan Roy.
Yeah,
that's where I wanted to go next. Tell us about the injuries. Tell us about the injuries along the revamped offensive line. Well,
it's even defensive line wise too, where they brought in a transfer at defensive tackle named, I'm going to get the last name wrong. It's Mo Anamone
from
who
Purdue.
Is supposed to come in and give 200, 300 snaps at one technique. Well, he can't even walk right now from a back injury that he sustained at Purdue, of which I would love to be a fly on the wall now, knowing what they know, because I don't expect him to play anytime soon, if at all, this season. And then their guy who is going to be
wait. He showed up with that?
They took him knowing that he had a back injury that forced him. Now, why did they do that? Well, they have the former Purdue defensive coordinator on staff in Kevin Kane, who I'm going to imagine knew more about the medicals and the situation about this than everybody. Plus, I would imagine the Gopher training staff also signed off on it. Well, it turns out they were wrong. I mean, it is what it is. But the issue is the guy who is going to be behind him, Theo Randall, is now, it sounds like, has a broken foot of some kind, and he's going to be out for at least the first month. They're just so thin there. And they were already thin at defensive tackle, but you took a transfer of which if they could go back in time, they would take another one.
Yeah.
But tackle is another spot where they have a lot of interior bodies, as you saw, Chip, but they don't have a lot of tackle bodies. Now, why don't they have a lot of tackle bodies? I would encourage you to go look at the 2021 and 2022 recruiting classes, of which none of them are essentially here anymore. Ariante is about the only great case there. The other ones have not panned out at all. And that's why you're looking at a redshirt freshman potentially at left tackle in Nathan Roy, but he's now injured. He's now missed over a week of time, which the more time that passes, the more time that means the Washington kid, Khalid Tafai, is going to get a long look at left tackle. You've also got a guy at right tackle and Dylan Ray from Kentucky, who played primarily guard when he was in the SEC. Stop me if you've heard this before, but PJ Fleck and Brian Callahan are probably going to be playing a guy at right tackle who should be a guard. Does that sound familiar?
Yep.
The Washington, that's 71, right?
Yes, that is 71 who missed the entire spring recovering from shoulder deal, but he's now healthy, getting in. I think for him, it's just, is he in shape?
Yeah.
I think he's got a lot of talent. But these are your options here. You have a redshirt freshman who's got prospect pedigree galore in Nathan Roy, but he's injured. And then you have Khalid Tafai, who's getting back into shape, but started games at left tackle for Washington last year down the stretch. And then at right tackle, Dylan Ray is probably a guard playing tackle in the Big Ten. Can they protect Drake? Can they open passing lanes? Plus, you've got Greg Johnson moving off of center, Ashton Beers moving to center, Marcellus Marshall, another transfer they're plugging in there. And we've seen historically Brian Callahan offensive lines start slow.
Right.
So that's where I think that Buffalo game, I looked at it yesterday just to see what Vegas thinks the spread is in that game, of which the only context I'll give you to before you guess is I think Buffalo was picked fourth in the MAC.
House said, yeah.
You want to guess what the
depending on who you ask? There's some people that think they can win it, which has got me all paranoid. I'm going to say,
Gaard, you've been worried about this from a month after you watched film on them or something.
Yeah, I was breaking down the all 22 of Buffalo from a year ago.
You're a big Kobe Stewart guy there.
Love him.
All MAC edge rusher. That's going to give Minnesota troubles.
So you asked me the point spread? Game one, they're always rust.
Go ahead, Chip. I'm so bad at this.
I am too. I'm not a gambler.
See, this is why I love it, because you guys.
This is so far outside of my.
Tell me.
11.
I was going to say 13.5.
It opened as Gophers were 18.5 point favorites. It's now been bet down to 16.5.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm here to tell you this is, I think, a team that's going to go to a bowl game for Minnesota.
Yep.
I feel pretty confident in saying that if Drake Lindsey plays in 13 games. But to your guys' point, the last 2 years, it has been a slog in the opening game, where it was Nebraska 2 years ago, last year North Carolina. I have famously coined it the sloppiest game of the PJ Fleck tenure, and I don't even think it's particularly close.
Especially tackling.
I mean, you missed 2 field goals. Your offense, Brosmer was off. Like, it was just sloppy. Bad penalties. Like, for a team that is historically one of the cleanest teams in terms of penalty wise, they're jumping off sides, false starts, yada, yada. Now, I'm not telling everybody to expect Bowling Green to come in here and have something like that, but Buffalo is a respectable team. So it's, I don't know.
Let me give you this.
Sure.
Thank you, Phil Steele. Gophers are 0-2 against the spread versus Buffalo historically. 41-17 back in 2002. Chip was there.
I was there.
And then 2017, the last time these two teams played, it was 17-7. They're 4-6 against the spread versus MAC teams, including that Bowling Green loss in 2021. By the way, in openers under head coach PJ Fleck, Gophers are 5-1 against the spread. 3 have gone under the total, the under total. So yeah, 16.5. I wouldn't see. I never. If I was a bettor, I would never. Going back to when I first started here, I could have retired years ago if I would have bet the Gophers to not cover as favorites and to cover as underdogs. That's how I would have bet. I should do that sometime and see how much money I could have made, because they always, to me, seem to cover when they're the dogs, and especially the way PJ used to play. Just run the ball and shut it down in the third quarter. I feel like they haven't covered a lot. I guess those numbers would tell me that that's true. Covered as favorites, so I would be very nervous about that 16.5.
Well, it's where I just think this team has so much to learn about itself now.
Yeah.
I think they would tell you through 2 weeks of camp, they know themselves pretty well. And heading into this final week, they're got to figure out just some niche things at that point. But also, you think you know what you know, and then you got to go do it under the lights on Thursday night at 8 p.m. against another team that's not wearing maroon and gold. And you got to find out what Drake Lindsay looks like under pressure. What does the defense look like under pressure? Is Jalen Smith ready for time as a receiver in the Big Ten, or does he need some more seasoning? Is your offensive line any good? Can you cover anyone at corner without Justin Wally and Ethan Robinson back there? I don't know.
Right.
Like, there are things I think I know, and then there's things that we have to find out. And I feel like that's the difficult part about this 2025 team, is what I think I know versus what is actually going to happen. There's as big of a discrepancy as we've seen in some time, just because of the inexperience everywhere outside of like 2-3 positions on this entire team.
Yeah, it's interesting because they have high-end players with Coy, Darius, Anthony Smith. I mean, just some, all Big Ten, in some cases all American talent. But it is. I mean, this is different. Doesn't mean worse or anything, bad. It's just we don't know. Like, we have no idea how Drake Lindsay's going to play, or how this offensive line is going to hold up, or what their depth, these depth guys look like. But if you were to rank your area concerns going in, would you put offensive line 1?
I think I put defensive line 1.
Yeah.
And that's
because of the depth.
That's the tricky part, is because I wouldn't disagree with anybody who would say Anthony Smith, Devin Eastern, Jalen Logan Redding, like, put that 3 against essentially any 3 in the Fleck era. I get it. But it's the drop off to guys after them, of which.
And you got to rotate. You got to play.
Well, that's
9, you have to.
I know I'm preaching.
In the Big Ten,
a few years ago they did, and
in the Big Ten you have to.
Yeah.
Well, that's where I don't want Devin Eastern to be gassed by Iowa. That gives me there's no value in that. You have to figure out if it's going to be Nate Becker, the super senior from Maple Grove. Is it going to be someone else? Like, you have to get Jackson Howard's feet wet. You have to get Carter Menz's feet wet. You have to get a lot of guys' feet wet behind them. And with that comes ups and downs, or even linebacker. Like, I think Maverick Baranowski is fine. I think he can be a good Big Ten linebacker, but we have to see him take that next step. And how much is a guy like Emmanuel Carmo going to play, of which I want to be the high guy in the room on Emmanuel Carmo, because he looks the part. I mean, he is, as in the football verbiage speak, he is as twitched up as a front 7 Gopher defender as a true freshman as I've seen. Now, the fascinating part about the Robbinsdale Cooper kid, former number 1 player in the state from last year's class, is I think he is, if you want to get really into the weeds here, like, he's a 3-4 outside linebacker in a 4-3 defense, which I don't know. I don't think you can call him a linebacker and that be true. I think he is just like a front 7 defender, of which you're going to see him line up at linebacker. You're going to see him line up in the A-gap standing up. You're going to see him outside of a tackle, try to rush the passer. And that's where I think he is going to be, I almost think, on a Coy Parrish type of plan, where you saw in September last year, as Coy got better and better with the roles that he had.
Say it.
They added more to his plate.
Say it. Yep.
He ate his mashed potatoes, and they gave him a heaping.
Oh boy!
They gave him some stuffing.
I'm open to other cliches and euphemisms with stuff like this, and I know people love to tell me. So please feel free to tell me what other things I should work into, because I know that is an analogy that is getting very old.
Yeah, tweet us or drop them in the YouTube channel comments. That would be great.
Yep.
I think you've nailed the concerns, that both lines, and then corner. I'm curious because
corner I'm worried about, because
you're just replacing a lot of guys.
Yeah, I just don't see how you can replace Justin Wally, of which so unfortunate for him, his ACL tear here.
Too bad. Yeah.
Since we recorded last, because it sounded like he was in competition to potentially start for the Colts, and it's a brutal break for him. But you're replacing a 4-year starter, and then a guy like Ethan Robinson, who is, I think, an above-average Big Ten corner.
Very much.
And Zaquan Bryan is the most experienced guy you have in the room, and he's played 200-ish snaps.
Right.
So the question is, are you going to go to a guy like Naeem Parrish as a true freshman? Is it going to be the Iowa transfer, John Nestor? Is it going to be another freshman like Mike Gerald? I just don't see how you can cover as well as those two did because of the inexperience there. So, yeah, I think those would be my top 3 concerns, would be offensive, defensive line, corner. And I think the thing that people might think is interesting is we don't put quarterback in that top 3.
Right. Well, I mean, because you just have the guy. Well, and the guy that they've invested heavily in. Like, we're gonna just have to wait and see on that. Like, we think he's going to be good, obviously, because I've been asked about Drake almost daily. Going around, and people say, "What do they think of the quarterback?" And my response, I probably said it here, was, "Well, in 2025, you don't have to turn it over to a freshman quarterback. You can, if you have any concerns about it or a worry about it, there's other avenues to go get somebody like they did a year ago, right? Not that everybody's going to be Max Brosmer, but you don't have to do it this way in 2025 if you're at all concerned about it. And like I think you said earlier, Chip, in the pod, they don't appear concerned about it. Like, they've been ready to turn this thing over to him. That was the plan since they got him, right? It was go learn from Max for a year, and we're going to give it to you, and we'll see. So I kind of got to go with their faith in this until proven otherwise.
Yeah, and I also think along those lines, their confidence in him probably comes with the realization that there are going to be bumps in the road. But
of course,
sure the heck would be nice to have a 3 or 4 year starting quarterback, or multiple year starting quarterback, versus constantly having to go into the portal and find somebody in year to year to year to year to year. And if you find a guy in recruiting, and they obviously targeted him and went hard at him throughout, that they felt like this is their guy that can be here multiple years. And you look at his like physical skills, the maturity and all those things, there's no concerns there. He has to go prove it, right? I mean, that's it. We just have to see what it looks like. And so, we had the same, they said positive things about Max last year, but what did we all say? Well, he's coming from New Hampshire. This is a big jump. How's he going to assimilate to a bigger, higher level? Well, he did pretty damn good, so you just have to go see it. So, but I agree that just the inexperience at those key positions, and again, it's a different team, and different doesn't necessarily mean worse. I keep saying that, but it's just, we don't know like how these guys are going to perform until they do. And I think it obviously not the most challenging non-conference schedule. They got
schedule. I think they caught a break in schedule.
I agree.
With, you do have 2 difficult road games, and Ohio State and Oregon, and going into play at Kinnick is never easy as well. I think any Gopher fan of our lifetimes would tell you that, but I mean, it always can be worse.
Well,
you boys have taught me that now in my 33 years of age. You can look at Wisconsin's schedule and be like,
yeah,
sweet Moses of Mary.
And my theory is, if you're going to play Ohio State, Oregon, 2 top 10 teams, play them on the road.
Sure.
Yeah, right.
Play them on the road, because you're going to be underdogs at home, on the road, wherever. So I'd rather play those. Yeah, it's a manageable schedule, I mean, for sure. And so, but it's interesting. And PJ's always upbeat. He's never like he's going to be, Debbie Downer about anything. But you don't get even a sense of that, like uneasiness about the newness or the inexperience or the unknowns from him when you hear him talk at all.
I don't think so either. Yeah, I think they're excited. I think they're excited about the group.
Yeah.
It's like I'm worried about quarterback too, whether that's
who's it
Emmett
gonna be?
Moorhead or
But that's all.
kid, Matt
That's always the
Chicken
case. I mean, that's always the case, right? Especially now in
And if you
2025.
get there, expectations change, and we can spend so many weeks talking about stuff like that. But the other thing, Guardsy, and I don't know if you heard me say this here recently. You know what I'm actually kind of excited about after watching 2 practices?
I'm going to guess because of
Special
the twinkle in
teams.
your eye, kicking, special teams, all of it. That's what I'm going to guess.
Their punting game looks much improved, which be still my beating heart. I'm going to have to get shocked out of AFib here because the new Australian kid, specifically Tom Weston from, I think he played at something crazy called like Waxahachie Christian Academy down in Oklahoma, a D2 somewhere. Like that kid's got a leg. And we've seen them for years hemorrhage field position.
It's true.
With look, I love Mark Crawford. I see him at Gopher practices still, but it would be 38 yards in a cloud of dust if he needed 28, 38, 48, or 58. And if Weston can flip the field for them, for someone who I'm going to read off a Guardsy tweet from the back of my head here, just like PJ Fleck did at his opening press conference at Big Ten Media Days, played a little trestle ball. He's just going to run the clock out.
Right.
So if we have a head coach that we cover and PJ Fleck who likes that type of thing, if you actually can gain yards and field position with a punter, heck yeah, man. I mean, I'm for that. Plus your return game of Coy Parrish, AJ Turner, who is an all Sun Belt guy, or even Logan Loya, like you have returners. You have a punting game. I don't know if your kicking game is going to be much good yet, whether it's the Alexandria true freshman and Daniel Jackson, or if it's the Syracuse kid and Brady Denneberg. But I mean, I've heard it now for 8 months, Fleck talking about 1 possession games.
Exactly where I was going to go. Yep. Go ahead.
In 2019, they were 6-1 in 1 possession games. And that's how they won double-digit games. Last year, they were 7-5. I would tell you now, I think as hindsight continues to grow, they underachieved with that team, with all the talent that they had. Why? Because they were 3-5 in 1 possession games last year. Now they won some they shouldn't have won potentially, and you can talk about that with the USC and the UCLA games. But the North Carolina game, the Rutgers game, I think they'd love to have that Penn State game back. But so much of it comes down to kicking. We saw them lose the opener. It's not only on Dragan Kesich. It's not. But he missed 2 kicks.
Right.
Like 2 kicks within like 45 yards, I believe. So if you're going to hit a ceiling season, your kicking game better be, I mean, again, last year they went from, I looked this up, when Dragan Kesich won Big Ten Kicker of the Year in 2023, he was 2nd in the Big Ten in field goal percentage makes. Last year he was 11th.
That's crazy.
So, he missed 8 kicks, which was tied for the most among any in the Big Ten, for any kicker in the Big Ten. Now, Fleck loves to throw him out there, and I don't know what he will do if it's a true freshman. Now, we've seen a true freshman do it before in 19 when Michael Lance was the guy, but he only kicked 11 times compared to Kesich, who had 28 field goal attempts last year.
Right.
Now, 2019, they also were the greatest show on TCF Bank Stadium turf at the time, and we're just scoring points left and right. But they better have a kicking game, because if you want them to win, again, I believe the over-under for this season is still at 6.5, maybe 7.5 in some places, depending upon where you look. But if you want them to hit the over, they better have a kicker.
Well, and I always said that because at least the way they played, they're not going to, as conservatives been, you're not going to blow doors off teams with that kind of offense where you're just kind of methodical. And so you're going to be in those close games more often than not. And so if you're inefficient in the kicking game, if it's a negative, if you're not maximizing that, well, now you're putting even more pressure on yourself. And so you're right. I mean, I don't know much about these kickers. I think they have the returners, and they're going to break one. But they need to be better in those. You're right, because it's hard to win close games if you're unreliable in the kick game. I mean, it's a fact.
Well, it's a team that like has to win on the margins. Is another way to put it.
Yeah, 100%.
Like Fleck teams are great at not committing penalties. They're one of the least penalized team every single year across college football. And if they're going to sneak a game or two or win a game they're not supposed to or two, that's where it's the hidden yards. It's the field position. It's the kicking game. It's different things like that. It's not committing stupid penalties to either advance to get an automatic first down or whatever it may be. And so if they can continue to be what Fleck's identity has been historically, which again, very disciplined teams, and then be an upgrade in somewhere like the kicking game and the punting game, that's where you can start to dream on a little bit of a ceiling with a team like this.
Well, we always talk about, every business talks about areas for growth, right? We've all sat in a boardroom somewhere. Like the Minnesota Star Tribune identified high school coverage as an area for growth. Coming today.
It'll be something, a rollout today.
Right? Okay. You're going hard. Everybody now has quit their beat, and they're not even covering the pro teams anymore. They're just doing high schools. Edina High School, Minnetonka Hockey, my Mite 4 kid, he's got a beat writer that wants he wants to do a sit down with him before he enters third grade. Area for growth with special teams, like we always talk about the 2019 team. Like they were so good at everything except special teams. And I'm sure I've told the story on the pod, like, watching Northwestern with Fitzgerald, obviously watching Iowa, where they just weaponized field position. Like field position was their weapon. We're going to pin you inside the 5. You're not going to move it. Regardless of end zone at Kinnick, and then we're going to get it at the 50, and we're going to have scoring drives that are like 3 plays, -5 yards, kick a field goal, because that's just how we're going to do it. But like to be able to weaponize that for the Gophers when, like Chip said, they've got the returners, hopefully they have the punter, like it would just open so many doors, I feel like, especially because these one possession games are not going away in the new Big Ten.
No.
Like you have to have every week, and maybe we'll go through the schedule here quickly in a few minutes, but like there's a few on there, Burnsy. I know you always like to do the, 2 that they're probably going to lose, 2 that they're probably going to win, and then, the 8 coin flip games, whatever they are. Like field position's going to matter. And I always remember Jerry Kill's first year being in the locker room at Northwestern, and they played really well against Northwestern. It wasn't a very good Gopher team. It was even when they played, but Northwestern had like 3 kick returns that got to like the 40. Gophers were starting at like the 12. And that was the game. And Kill went on this long thing about special teams are going to be important, and we have to figure this whole thing out. And it's just such a difference maker.
Well, and that's why I think having a guy like Coy can, I mean, he can give you short fields as a returner. I mean, having the guy like that, whereas Iowa's had the punter or,
and
someone
Cooper
like
DeJean.
that. And Cooper DeJean.
Yeah.
It just takes a special punter, a special returner, a special kicker, and that can change things dramatically like that.
I was about to say, it's the Kirk Ferentz. It's just it's death by 1,000 cuts of field position, where it's just they start winning the field position games slowly over time, and they eventually get you backed up against your own end. Something stupid happens, and it's turnover, and
that's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
and they have 78 yards of
forever.
Yeah, they have 78 yards of total offense, and they just beat.
And they're winning. Yeah,
and they scored 17 points with 90 yards of total offense because their defense and special teams just death by 1,000 cuts. Maybe that's going to be the identity of this year's team. That's the thing. I don't know. I mean, we're 45 minutes into this thing. I don't know what the identity of this team is going to be, and to me, that's exciting and fascinating to kind of try to parse through and figure out yet. But is it going to be more of an offensive-laden team with Darius Taylor and Drake Lindsay, or is it going to be the defense with all these new names and new faces? Is it going to be special teams being I'll have to put like a sign behind me for Bob Ligashevsky if that's the case. But like, there's so many things about this team that I find fascinating to try and figure out, especially prior to that first bye week.
So last thing before we take a quick break, is Demetrius Douglas the last punt return for a touchdown? Was Winfield's against New Mexico State or whoever that was that the same season, 2018?
I think it was the same season. Yeah.
So either way, we're talking 18 or 19, right?
2018.
Yeah.
So, but you think about how that Demetrius Douglas punt return at Camp Randall changed everything in that game.
Mhm.
Like went from right before the half, right? I mean, it went before, and we've all been at Camp Randall where the Gophers like played a pretty solid first half, but Wisconsin was kind of in striking distance with a couple of West titles on the line, I think, at least one. And next thing you know, you come out of halftime, Wisconsin gets back in it, and you lose, right? It happened 15 years in a row, whatever it was. Demetrius Douglas, with that punt return, blew the game wide open and made it almost impossible to lose. And then guess what? PJ got to do PJ ball the rest of the way. It was, we're going to hand it off. Tanner Morgan, as a redshirt freshman, is going to throw, a couple of third down conversions, and we're going to win the Axe for the first time ever. And that shifted kind of everything, right? I mean, that went right into 2019. So, I mean, what a devastating play that was in that game. Demetrius Douglas, who went on to be known for 3rd and 30 the next year against Georgia Southern. So it's time to weaponize it. It's time to weaponize the special teams. I think we can all agree on that. All right, let's go through the schedule real quick when we come back. But let's talk about Jack's Cafe, our great partners, I think we can say longtime partners now.
Yeah.
I think longtime partners is the way to go. JAXcafe.com. Make your reservations. A great opportunity, before games, after games, even if there are no games, just go to a great dinner, go for a great date night, go for a great brunch. The beautiful thing about Jack's, Burnsy, is no matter what you're in the mood for, just a couple of drinks and some apps, anniversary, a family brunch, it's all there for you, Jack's. You don't have to decide. It's whatever you're in the mood for that day. Jack's Cafe has your back.
Well, I'm just glad that people are listening to us, because when Chip and I were at the most recent Gopher practice, there were some gentlemen up from Rochester, and I had a couple of them come up to me and say, guess where we went? Jack's
awesome.
Cafe and jackscafe.com had an
love it.
outstanding meal. Look, we can lead horses to water, but we can't make them drink. Okay. People are listening, and they're finally figuring out, to your point, whatever you want it to be, whether it's going to grab a drink with a coworker after work, whether it's going for an anniversary or a birthday meal, whatever it may be, it's such a versatile place. And I will continue to say this now as we get closer and closer to the fall. You're going to want to earn some brownie points with the missus or your significant other. That patio is top 3 in Minneapolis, and they will love it, Chip.
And they're not third. I was going to mention I was going to mention the gentleman that we met from Rochester, and I apologize for not remembering his name, but thanks for being loyal listeners. But he told me that the thing that blew them away, he's like, we couldn't get over the service, how friendly and accommodating everybody. Like they're always coming up. Can I help you there? Whatever. He said the service was just incredible, and I was like, that's how Bill runs it, right? That's As I said, you don't survive 90 plus years by having bad service. You have to have impeccable service, and that's what you're going to get from Jack's.
Exactly right. Every little detail, as from when you walk into the matchbooks, if you make reservations, I love the matchbooks because to me it's just so classy. Whether it's the parent of spare that they put on it for us, or when you go and it says Gaard family, or Chip Scoggins or Ryan Burns or Randy Byrne, it's just magical. So. Don't take our word for it. Take the hundreds, if not thousands, of parent of spare people, listeners that have gone there over the last few years that have maybe forgotten about it or learned about it for the first time, and it's worth the trip. It's worth the trip every single time. Make your reservations at jackscafe.com.
I have to interrupt you here quick because we do need to do a quick update on the whole Randy Byrne saga. Okay. Because I have an actual update from one of our listeners.
Ooh.
Remind people who Randy Byrne is real quickly.
Well,
people are just popping in.
To be fair, you'll remember back to an episode we did after the Michigan game last year where there was a credential snafu, and I got a credential for Randy Byrne instead of Ryan Burns. Now,
by the way, quick amendment. This is a little scary. It's the day that then vice presidential candidate Tim Walz is going to the big house, right? So you'd like to think security's pretty locked in and everybody knows who everybody is. That's not the case. So thankfully, nothing happened that day. But that's what I always take from it is Governor Walz was there as a vice presidential candidate and you didn't have the right pass, and we're just meandering around the big house.
Well, the bit that makes it great, I was like, who is this? And so I put him into Google, and it's like Chip with trying to make a credit card transaction online. There was no data available.
Nothing.
Yep.
Even as of last week, I had put in this man's name and his alleged outlet.
What was the affiliation? What was the media?
It
American
was
Sports Byline USA.
correct. Of which I don't know how you can have that. And I Googled that and I tweeted it out. And I had a listener. I won't out them because I think they want to remain anonymous. But they're like, I know Randy Byrne.
I don't believe him.
And then they sent me a photo of him that is actually Randy Byrne. And they're like, yeah, he works for this. And I'm like, how does he not have, like, why is there no digital footprint of this journalist?
So they said
I don't know,
that's
but
an
he is a
actual
real
media.
person.
Wait a second, that's an actual media, sportsbyline.com?
Sports Byline USA.
I don't pretend to know much more outside of that, but I do. All I know is we have a listener who knows that this gentleman is actually real and not a faux.
Let's get him on. Let's get him on as a
agent.
guest. Let's get him on as a guest, Burnsy. Come on.
He'd be so confused, and I would love every part of it.
Well, I have so many questions. Though, what does he do for Sports Byline USA if we can't find any examples of his work anywhere?
Look,
you needed to ask more questions of this deep throat listener. Come on, journalists! You need.
And why was he covering this game? Why was he covering the Michigan?
Here's the only other content. Again, I don't want to ruin this man's life because I'm sure he's worked hard to not have a digital footprint at this point. But I've been told he played football at Iowa State, graduated from this person's high school in 1985, and they were like, "What is happening?" And I'm like, "Look, all I can tell you
whose pass did he have that day? If you had his,
who knows?" But I just want to give that update for those of you who are way deep in the weeds with Parent Spare lore. Randy Byrne is still alive and well and is an actual journalist for Sports Byline USA and not a faux Secret Service agent of some kind.
Do you think there's a chance that he was Ryan Burns that day and he's telling all his buddies, like, who's Ryan Burns? Like, I was Ryan Burns for a day. It might have been a mix-up.
Be me, and I get that. I mean,
it's hard being you. It's hard being you.
Well, Chip, you often come up to me and say you do have a face for radio and you have a body for podcasting. And I would tell you, Chip, I have worked hard to lose some weight to try and get like you, Mr. Thin and Skinny.
Those walks with your Mastiff. I'm looking at CycloneLetterwinners.com or .org. Randy Byrne did win. He was a redshirt freshman in 1985, 85, 86, 87, 88, 89. He was D lineman of the year for the Cyclones in 1989. Wow. Let's click on his LinkedIn here because it has a link to his LinkedIn.
Guy.
Oh boy.
Oh boy.
Let's see if anything comes up. Is that? But this doesn't. It's a different Randy Byrne. This has to be a different Randy Byrne because this is not the picture that was on your credential. He's the president and owner of a company in the Des Moines area. That guy is not running to. He's not doing Sports Byline USA. Just popping in on that. Like, I think this is a different Randy Byrne. I think the mystery remains. I don't think we've solved anything here.
No.
Now you have me looking at the photo I was sent and the photo on my credential. And
different guy, right?
Unless that Randy Byrne has really aged significantly. Now I'm just throwing more gas on the fire of this thing.
Yeah, we have solved nothing here. Respect to the listener who knows this Randy Byrne, who's obviously very successful. He's the president and CEO of a utility company. Okay, that guy's not going to string for Sports Byline USA at the big house in October. I don't know how to break it to you. The mystery remains. We are nowhere near any resolution on who this Randy Byrne is.
Classic detour on my end. I took us down a road and there's no destination in sight.
But I feel like we're closer now because we're eliminating Randy Burns. We're eliminating different Randy Burns to find the one that you know or that you were that day. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, we're gonna keep digging. We're gonna keep. But good. That guy. If the listener wants to call back. If the president and CEO of that company wants to sponsor the podcast, we definitely take it. Looks like they do work in Minnesota. It's a Midwest deal. So we'll definitely do that. But I don't think we're any closer to solving the mystery of who you were that day or what Sports Byline USA is, because we can't even find that, right? Like if you Google Sports Byline USA, nothing comes up. So something was
like
up.
that's something like something the guy just said. Who do you work for? I don't know. Sports Bylines USA, and he created it out of thin air. So he actually included a photo on the credential.
Yes. Yeah.
I wonder if that's a real photo, or was that someone he just found off the internet?
I also will say this in case somebody's listening to this on Monday night or early Tuesday morning. Apparently, tomorrow's practice, Chipper, is open to the public, which
It is.
Sweet.
That's news to
Come
me.
say hi to us. Come say hi to us.
Yeah, I did see that in the most recent release about the practice. So, yeah, we'll all be there. Are you going to be there tomorrow, Chipper?
For sure.
I'll be there too. And we know Burnsy will be, because if you complain as publicly as he does about not being allowed to practice,
show up.
You got to show up. All right, should we do it? We got about 5 minutes left or so. Let's run through. We might do a deeper dive on the season preview as we get to it. But after we just spent 50 minutes and Burnsy essentially said we don't know anything about this team, which by the way I think is somewhat fair, because we don't know what they're going to be. Right? I mean, a year ago at this time we didn't know that Max Brosmer was going to be as good as he was, and that they were going to turn into this passing offense that we hadn't seen in the 7 previous seasons of PJ Flex. So. All right. Do we all feel good about the Buffalo game besides me?
Yes.
Because we have no idea what we're.
Are we doing win-loss here? Or are we going down to win-loss?
Let's do it. Let's do a win-loss, and then we'll see if anything changes by the time we get to that first Buffalo game.
All right.
Should we all keep track of our own to make it easy? Because I'll screw it up.
Get some paper
all right. Get a pen. Yeah, we'll prepare one of these days for the podcast. One of these days we'll prepare. All right. So I'm going win with Buffalo. Okay. So we'll do that. We'll do losses here. All right. Northwestern State. The only thing I know about Northwestern State is their basketball team beat Iowa in a 14-3 matchup in 2006 in the NCAA tournament, possibly sealing Steve Alford's fate to the University of New Mexico. So I think they're going to win that one. I have them 2-0 after that. Any takers?
Northwestern State was an 0-12 FCS team last year.
Yeah.
Okay. I think enough said, as we say on Fox 9. At California, I'm very intrigued by. It's a road game. It's a late kickoff. They're not very good. They weren't a year ago. They lost a bunch of running backs, I think, right, Burnsy?
They lost their entire offense.
But they've got 2 quarterbacks. They actually had 2 quarterbacks that played at some schools that are, I think, jostling for QB1 role.
One of them is a former Ohio State guy, but they lost their stud quarterback to, I think he's at Indiana now. They lost running backs that were really talented to Power 2 teams.
Yep.
It's a game in which at least me 5-6 weeks out is telling you if the Gopher offense can score 21 points, that's a game in which the Gopher defense should not allow 20 or more.
All right. I've got them at 3-0, Chip.
I got them at 3-0.
3-0. All right. So we're all square through September 20th, which is a bye. Here's another interesting one. Now, here's where let's hope they find the answers to all these questions, because we've talked about this. Their home schedule is extremely inviting. Not that there's not, tricky games or tough games on here, but it's an inviting home schedule. It's an opportunistic home schedule, I would say, if you want to have a really good, perhaps mythic season. And it starts with Burnsy's favorite game, the Rutgers game, September 27th. The Gophers obviously lost a year ago in perplexing fashion, given that Kyle Monungai didn't even play, right? Their best running back.
Nope.
And
they
the guy who's in the NFL now.
Tailbacks ran for 140 yards, and your offensive line imploded in the fourth quarter in spectacular fashion.
They have, I think, a lot of pieces back. They are obviously, building like Shiano wants to build. They still have Ethan Kaliakmanis as the QB. Mm-hmm. What do we think? Gophers, Rutgers for the Big Ten home opener.
It's also, the other thing that we didn't say there was what is Ethan going to look like in his return to Minneapolis? Because say what you will about the young man, he's either going to come out on fire or it's going to be a disaster from the first throw. And I don't know where his headspace is going to be.
Last year, they had some big plays in the offense in that first half that gave them the lead, and I thought 3 of them should have been intercepted. There were balls played as poorly as they possibly could, including, I think, Justin Wally, who never did that. So there should have been 2 or 3 picks, I thought, in the first half a year ago. Didn't end up that way, and then we know how the game finished.
And they didn't really bring much pressure on him, if I remember correctly, right? They just kind of let him get comfortable and in a rhythm.
Corey Heatherman game plan,
Yeah,
I can remember, of not throwing the kitchen sink at Eighth and Calais McManus, but we'll see if Danny Collins deems that after a bye week, because I think Rutgers the week before has Iowa at home on a Friday night or something like that.
This is a tricky one for me, guys, because
they do, Burnsy.
Mm-hmm.
This is a tricky one because there's a number of these games where I don't know if you call them toss-ups, but whatever. I don't think they're going to win them all.
I don't either.
And so you got to figure out which ones they're not going to win. But I will say win here.
All right, so we're all at 4-0.
I'll say win for now. Yeah.
All right, then it's Ohio State. We can give that one the L.
Yeah.
Although I'm going to talk myself into it the week of how they figure it out.
No, I have no idea how they're going to cover Jeremiah Smith and Max Clare.
I'm going to say loss.
And then Jim.
I'm not changing my mind on that one, Guards.
You know how?
How?
With Havoc. They're going to cover
defense.
With Havoc. They're going that week. They're just going to let Coy Parrott shadow him the whole week. They're going to go. We got 9 safeties. We're just going to put Coy on them. Purdue homecoming night game. I think we got to say that's a win. I'm putting that one as a win.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And here's the interesting one: Friday night in the city, MEA weekend, the possibly undefeated, if you're to believe the offseason hype, Nebraska Cornhuskers come to town. This could be a sneaky, big-time, I guess, build-up game, right? Because Nebraska's schedule, we talked about it a few weeks ago, extremely forgiving, and they could legitimately be undefeated if they're worth anything, right, coming into that game on Friday night. They've got Cincinnati, Akron, Houston Christian, Michigan at home, Michigan State at home, at Maryland before they come to Minneapolis.
Yeah, this is one of those where, again, coin flip, toss-up, whatever. I mean, this is going to dictate the ceiling of your season. Now, I think for the purposes of at least this podcast, 17 days out, I'll say it's a loss.
Okay.
Yes, I'm going into this. I was debating Rutgers and Nebraska as one of the teams that they lose. And
I think those are 2 fair ones.
I don't know which one, so I don't think they're. As I said, I don't think they're going to win all of them. So I'm going to put this as a loss, just because I think there's going to be a game where they don't play well and they just don't win the close game. And I'll say it's this one.
But it's the thing of Nebraska just is a team that flex teams always seem to play well against, and Nebraska never seems to play their even C game against Minnesota. So, I mean, I think when we get to this week, it's going to be the Dylan Raiola versus Drake Lindsey second-year quarterback one. I'm already drumming up narrative.
Oh my gosh!
Here, right? I know. That's what I should have done instead of win-loss. Just what Burnsy's narrative is going to be. Yep. So that's 5-1 against potentially 6-0 that week, and I'm going to go glass half full on all these to see what the ranges are. So I'm going to say the Gophers win that one. Then they go. So I have them 6-1. You guys have them 5-2. Then they go to Iowa City, where we all know what happened last time.
I'm gonna call that one a loss
at Kinnick. Yeah, I think that's fair. I think you definitely say, we'll see what Mark Gronowski looks like. There's Max Brosmer 2.0 down there. He looks healthy. I know he had an injury that he was dealing with in the spring, and we know their defense is probably going to be good. We know they're going to run the ball, and we'll see what else they have. But that's, when you've won one time there since 2000.
The 2-game stretch for Iowa before this is at Wisconsin, of which if I have to read another, Wisconsin hates Iowa, and they've been doing push-ups to the amount of points that Iowa scored on them. Like, plus the week before, they have the number 1 team in the country at home, which is Penn State.
Penn State, yeah.
So it's not easy for the Hawkeyes, but I agree with you guys. I'd have this one as a loss right now.
I'd say this: I'm excited to get down there. I'm excited to. I think if the Gophers are having the season we think they're going to have here, just at to this point.
And again, I think this is going to be a 2:30 or 6 on like NBC or something like that. This feels like this will be the NBC slot for the Big Ten. All
right, get your narrative out for November 1st. Go ahead, Burnsy.
Joe Rossi gets to come back to Huntington Bank Stadium. Danny Collins gets to go. His predecessor. We've seen this all before. Stop me if this sounds familiar with anything. Here's the one that I think will surprise you. If we're going to say, because this will be the 6th game in a row for Minnesota, like I could see this being a loss. Whereas I don't think Michigan State is better than Minnesota. And Michigan State is going to be coming off. I mean, this will be their 5th game in a row before both teams have bye weeks, I think. But
correct.
I don't sleep on Michigan State, and I want to know, as I've talked about previously on this episode, Minnesota is very thin at certain positions. And if they are even thinner by the game, 6 straight Big Ten game, like this is one I think is sneaky that, again, Aiden Childs is as big of a wild card of a quarterback as you were going to find in the Big Ten this year.
Yep.
But for the purposes of this podcast, at least, I will say this is a loss, and that would be the 3rd straight loss.
13 touchdowns, 11 turnovers a year ago for your guy Childs.
No.
I've always said, and it's kind of been the cliche, especially when like Mace in those early years when I was covering, Michigan State always looked as good as anybody when they were warming up. I mean, they had athletes, talent. It's just, they just weren't the most disciplined group in the world. I think this is a win. It's another one of those coin flip games for me, but I just don't. 3 straight losses. I don't feel like that's going to happen, and maybe they lose this one to win Nebraska. But because I picked a Nebraska loss, I'm going to say a win here. But it is one of those. I do wonder about when you play that many games in a row, depth where you're at physically without having a break. But I'm going to say win here.
15 returning starters for Michigan State, and they have a bunch of transfers as well. Now I got to pull back to my schedule here. So it's a bye week, and then the Friday night at Oregon.
Like you could go, again, to your point, you already talked about the home schedule, Guardsy. Like the Rutgers game, the Michigan State game. Like we'll get to one here in a second, too, with the Wisconsin game, the Nebraska game. Like there are so many of these where I know the casual fan is like, this isn't a great home slate per se. But if you are like, I think there's going to be some great entertaining second half football.
Oh yeah. If you're a football sicko, like these should all be. I mean, these are all going to be one touchdown spreads, right?
In theory.
Yeah.
Rutgers, Nebraska, Michigan State. Again, we have no idea injuries and how the season actually plays out. But if everything just played to form, which it never does, all of these, Gophers would probably be like 5.5-point favorites or 4-point favorites in a couple of these games, and it's probably a field goal, and maybe Nebraska's probably going to be favored coming up here because that's how it works, especially if they start 6-0. All right, so Oregon on the road,
they could lose all these, but in reality, they'll be always somewhere in between.
Yeah, correct. At Oregon, Eugene, first trip to Eugene since 1975. When I think Steve Prefontaine did Let's Play Hockey before they kicked it off.
Let's Play Hockey. Yeah, that'll be a loss.
All right, so we'll give them that one. At Wrigley Field, you coming to that one, Chipper? No, I think LaBelle told me he's got that one.
Well, it's a weird deal because the Vikings play the Packers the next day in Lambeau.
You could get there.
So trying to figure that out. But I'm going to say win there.
Yep, I think they'll win at Wrigley Field. Looking forward to that trip for sure. Burnsy?
Yeah, that's a win. I look at even that Northwestern slate before that Minnesota game. It's Penn State, Purdue, Nebraska, at USC, and then they get Michigan the week before, which David Braun, Godspeed.
And then we go with Wisconsin. The battle for Paul Bunyan's axe, where the Gophers have won it, 3 of the last 4, 3 of the last 5, whatever it is, 4 of the last 8. And the series, this will come up, is deadlocked at 63, 63, and 8.
That's the first I've heard of it.
Yeah.
Thank you for enlightening me.
I got them as a win. I think they're a better team. I think Nebraska is going to be demoralized, having navigated that schedule. Their schedule is brutal. So I have them as a win there.
Yeah, Wisconsin. That is just that schedule for Wisconsin. Those 5 games prior to Minnesota. Ohio State, Oregon, Washington, Indiana, Illinois.
Oof. Tough.
Yeah.
Could be.
I mean, from the 3rd game of the season on, there is just nothing on that schedule where you look at and say, this is a penciled in win. Again, I don't think Luke Fickell makes a bowl game, and he's going to be saved by that, in my opinion, $40 million golden parachute that he has, because Wisconsin missing back-to-back bowl games after, what was it, 22 straight years?
Something like that.
That they made a bowl is if you add that up, I'm at 7-5, which is right in line with Vegas. Again, depending upon your favorite sports book of choice, 6.5, 7.5. They have the opportunity to win more. They have the opportunity to lose more.
Yeah.
Like, this is, you can talk me into, for those of us that are not staring at Justin Gaard, what do you have in your hand?
I've got my oar here. Well, I mean, you guys are going 7-5.
I got 84.
I had to find a third loss just to make it somewhat fair. 9-3. I'm thinking, I'm trying to figure out: are we hosting a playoff game, or do we have to go on the road as a 10-2 squad? Just remember where
go.
You're here.
Yeah, roll the boat, right? Yeah, I got him at 8-4, and that's what I've said all along. 8-4.
I think that's fair. I think all of those are fair.
To me, it really comes down to Rutgers, Nebraska, Michigan State.
Yep.
If you win, I think those are the three where I'm the most indecisive on. I think those are the three where there's probably the smallest variance between the teams. If you win one of them, 7-5. If you win two, 8-4. If you win all three of them, 9-3. I think I had them winning two of them, so I'm gonna say 8-4.
Yeah, in all honesty, I think all of those are fair. It could be 7-5, 8-4, 9-3, 5-7, 6-6. Who the hell knows? But it's a fun exercise. And I got to pull the oar out. What else can you want here? What else can you want? My friends,
how many of those? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, how many of these games do you think are going to be one-score games?
7.
I mean, all of them.
Well, even the Wisconsin game at the end of the year, it's now a rivalry between the two of them, where it's like you throw out the records, especially at the end of the season, and you're just like,
"Yep,
who's going to show up?" Like,
I think of the 12 games, I think 8 of them will be one-score games.
Yeah, I was going to say
7 or 8. 7 or 8.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That seems about right. So it'll be fun. Not for Chip because he has deadlines, but fun for me. Fun for Burnsy.
11 o'clock kickoffs. Give me 11 o'clock kickoffs, boys.
No rewrites for us. All right, well, that's fun. Maybe we'll do that in a couple of weeks once we learn more about some of these other teams as well and deal with training camp injuries for everybody and all of that. But I think we're good. We'll try to do this again next week. Chipper's got a family vacation coming up, and then he's got to take a kid back to school. Burnsy's got to find homes for the last couple of cats. Appreciate them. They were pretty quiet, I think, for this entire episode. And I'm going back to playing Uber driver. I got to go pick up a kid here in a minute. Anything else we need to discuss?
See you at practice, boys.
17 days, gentlemen.
That's right. All right. For Ryan Burns and Randy Byrne and all the various cats that are floating around his wife's house, and Chip Scoggins from the Minnesota Star Tribune, I'm Justin Gaard. Please subscribe if you haven't, whether it's on the YouTube channel. I might do some giveaways on the YouTube channel during the football season, whether it's the pod. Please hit subscribe before you head out. Please tell a Gopher fan friend, a Big Ten fan friend in your life that we are here every single week, pretty much through January now. And we will talk to you next week on the Pair and a Spare podcast.